This is a playthrough of the game The High Crusade. I aim to show a couple of turns, at least, to show you how the game plays. We start at the beginning with the brave band of Sir Roger the Baron, with Sir Owain and Sir Fitzwilliam, companion knights, Red John and Brother Parvis. Sir Owain, they're all together on this planet here in the Thraxian system. Sir Roger and folks, Parvis, etc., all together on in a fortress, and Sir Owain is here with a fleet and an army ready to move out. Now we begin the game, strangely enough, at the Crusader conversion phase, and that would be effective if there was a thrall race which could be potentially converted, and there is none at the start. So we immediately move to the Crusader fief, assignment and title phase. Now, there's the fief that they have gained has already been assigned to Sir Roger. I did that at the setup as required. So Sir Roger is now able to knight or create a baron from a knight, which he immediately does to Sir Fitzwilliam. And Brother Parvis, who's in that stack, is able to create an archbishop from one of the other characters. But to do that, he has to build a cathedral. So we have a church underneath there and a castle, which begin the game. So Brother Parvis and Red John, who don't have titles, are going to be staying there with a fleet as required to convert the church into a cathedral. The plan is that Brother Parvis will make Red John an archbishop. Then in the next turn, Red John will make Brother Parvis the new pope, and then later in the game, as appropriate, Brother Parvis, the new pope, can make Sir Roger into the king, and this will enable him to create dukes from barons, and entitle him to a lot more fiefs, and the barons can take more fiefs. So I'll just show you here, the king can have any number of fiefs, dukes 8 and so forth. The reason being that there are 18 thraldoms that can be converted into fiefs, and you want these to gain extra units as the game progresses. So those are the first actions in the first turn of the game. It could have been different. You might not want to do that. For example, you might want to create a cathedral somewhere else so that it's not so far away, tucked up in the corner, because people will have to come back. So Sir John will have to come back if he's going to the cathedral to be made king, and he's quite a powerful unit. We want him to go off crusading. So we move to the next phase, which is the Crusader movement phase. Now, Sir Owain is with a fleet that can move 8 hexes, and I cleverly placed him here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, so he can just about get to this planet in the Thraxian defence zone. The plan is to move him forward into the Jer defence zone. Sir Roger, along with Fleet A and Sir Fitzwilliam, are going to move over here. Now they are in a fleet and they're transporting armies with them, the same as Sir Owain. They're in a fleet that can travel 12 hexes, but you cannot land on a hex with the enemy units, so they have to land here, and they cannot move the army until next turn. If these units here were not in a fortress, we could attack them. Seeing as they're in a fortress, we need to move our army onto it to besiege them the turn after. So the Crusaders would be able to fight, but they don't have anyone to fight right now. Now we go to the Crusader Alliance phase. This is for the 3 ally races. If the Crusaders land here, they can gain the Jers as in their alliance, potentially. There's also the Pathung and the Ashenk. So the Pathung and the Ashenk are over near the Wesgeric's home planet, on the far side of this galaxy. So there's no alliance available at the moment. So now we go to the Wesgeric's alert phase. Now every turn you check the Wesgeric's IQ, and here it's on 1. And with that, they gain an alert marker for every point of IQ, plus potentially another one from a random event. Then you place that on a planet. It has to be within 8 hexes of a Crusader force. If there's none within, then you have to do the nearest. These ones cannot be done, and there's no point in doing this planet because there's no thralls here, and this zone has already been alerted. So the intention is to get this defense zone alerted as soon as possible, so we have freedom of movement for these forces here. So we're alerting this planet, and when all have been alerted, the whole zone is alerted. Then we go to the Wesgeric's movement phase. So now, these units here are half the strength. We know that. We can see it marked. And normally this army would be hidden underneath, but from the setup, we know what's going on. So these can be hidden underneath a leader, so you wouldn't necessarily know what you're up against. But we know the beginning strengths. So this is quite weak. I'm going to move them out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Unfortunately, the only planet is within range is Crusader occupied, unless 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now that's a cunning plan. So there is a fleet still there defending, but that is going to be greatly to the Wesgeric's benefit if they can strike a blow against Christendom from the start. So I'm going to risk that, otherwise I was going to escape them out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and they will land there. So and if we had any wounded leaders in this movement phase, they might become unwounded. Then we go to the combat phase. Now I wasn't expecting any combat at this point, so I haven't checked that out. You'll have to excuse me while we go through that. Okay, no, a slight adjustment. I think I've got it now. So these landed adjacent, and the units, the ground units, decided to go inside the fortress. That leaves the fleet outside. I'm going to leave the Wesgeric's leader with the fleet. Fleets cannot attack fortresses, but if they are on a planet and leave it, a fortress can attack them or a fort as it leaves. So that's the only sort of fortress to fleet attacking that we can have. Otherwise, because these fellows went inside, the ground forces here can go and besiege, immediately move on, even though normally they can't move because they just landed. So what that leaves is then these two fleets to fight. So it's Sir Roger against the Wesgeric's leader, and we have the same sort of situation, which ends up, we're actually, because it's the Crusaders fighting, we use the Crusader combat table, not the Wesgeric's one. And so we're on the +10 column. We rolled 2d6. I got 3. Results to the left apply to fleets. So that's a result of 1, which I believe is a loss. No, yes, that's right. It's so here. Your fleet gets lost due to bad navigation and never finds the enemy. Roll 1 die and move your fleets in the direction shown on the Ionic Storm movement indicator. Oh dear, so that's 3. Now where is the Ionic Storm indicator? Here. Okay, so the fleet ends their move when they reach a hex on a different planet. If the direction roll will take the fleets off the map without reaching a new planet, the fleets do not move and the combat takes place. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, so they would go off. So fortunately they are saved by the ending of space. So the combat does take place. Oh, no combat takes place. Okay, so they are both in their respective hexes, glaring at each other. And now the result of the siege takes place in the Wurzgerix player's turn. So in the Wurzgerix player's turn, I'm going to do what they had originally planned. They're going to move over to here, and they are going to attack the fleet there. So because it's the Wurzgerix attacking, we use the Wurzgerix combat table. And so we've got 5 against 5 because the differential of 0. Then Red John adds 1 in combat, and Brother Parvus gives a bonus of 1. The Wurzgerix leader is 1, so that's a net of 1 shift to the left. And rolled a 2, so that is A4. That means the result is a number of combat results are okay. A is the strength points lost by the attacker, and D is this. Oh, so the attacker loses 4 strength points. So immediately, Wurzgerix Fleet A goes down to 1 strength point. But they had taken with him Army A, which was only 4 strength points. And we'll say they had landed, which would have been a bit silly to do without. They can now attack the fortress, which is 6 strength points. I think we may as well try it. Now they're basically stranded on the planet. Or they can aim for a siege. They're going to aim for a siege, so they move on and will besiege. So we've got a bit of a flip-flop. They're besieging and they're besieging there. So that is the end of the Wurzgerix combat phase. So now we go to Alliance Disruption. So there are no Crusader allies, so we don't need this phase. And we advance the game turn marker. So we'll now go into game turn 2. So this starts with the random events. First we check to see if there's any heresy markers, and we don't have any yet. They could spread. Then players place their reinforcements. For every capital a player controls, he receives 1 strength point of reinforcement. So that means I'm going to get an army strength of 1 on that hex there. They can be placed on the capital. Except that reinforcements cannot be placed in the capital under siege. Okay, that is unfortunate. And so the Wurzgerix player has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 capitals. So what I'm going to do is I can divide them amongst the capitals. Now the highest the fleet can be is our army's 10th strength. And the Wurzgerix player has 10 strength army there. They've got Fleet C. Where's Fleet C? Here. No, okay. Okay, so the situation at the end of the second turn is we have Sir Roger and Fitzwilliam here. Fitzwilliam's gained an army and a fiefdom. We had a successful defence. Sir Owain was called back and successfully defended their home base. The cathedral has been built. and brother Red John is now an archbishop. So the Thralls actually lost Fleet A and the whole of Army A, and the leader with them. He's a sort of semi-decent leader. The Sir Owain's army managed, they lured the Wesgorics out to attack them and managed to roll enough damage to completely destroy that. And these besieged forces were lost. There's a 50% chance of gaining a fortress if the Crusaders are besieging. In response, the Wesgorics, they've left an army there, they've moved a fleet over to here with a leader, preparation for the obvious invasion coming, and they started to alert the planets here, so they're hoping to alert this, because these, probably the Crusaders are going here first, these will be alerted by them, but this will, as the Wesgorics player alerts that will free up the fleet there, which has moved from here to there, and then that can hopefully join in the defence in this system. Oh, actually no, that was a mistake. I've moved into a separate system, so he's going to have to go there, and then he will hop to there, and then he can hop to there, so he might as well stay there, but I can hop him there just in case the Crusaders decide to come this way. On the third game turn, in the far reaches of outer space, the Crusaders gain 1 strength point, so they're getting a sort of garrison army back at their home base. The Wesgorics gain 7, and they build up some armies and fleets. And there's no random event, and so no fiefdoms, etc. So we go to movement. So Roger moves with Fleet A over here, so he can attempt to bring the Jers in as an ally. Sir Fitzwilliam has his Thrall army there. So Brother Parvis and Red John, who's been recently made an archbishop, they're moving together because they're going to stay together. Brother Parvis assists in Thrall, bringing in Thralls. They're going to move here with a fleet strength of 5. So now Army C and Fleet C can be joined. So Fitzwilliam can move. And that ends, there's no combat, so that ends the Crusader turn. Oh, and Sir Owain now flies back here, ready to hop into the Ger defence zone. So in the Wesgorics player turn, they get 1 alert marker, so they continue alerting the green defence zone. And their army and fleet here, so the army is going to stay, and the fleet too, I think. Well, the fleet might go and try and attack Sir Roger. They have a chance, but no, they're actually going to go back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 here. They don't want to be potentially pounced on by Sir Roger. They're leaving the army there, so that ends the third game turn. Moving into the fourth game turn, we get another reinforcement in Army D for the Crusaders, and 7 points. 7 points for the Wesgorics, which is going to give them all their armies and fleets are at strength 10, and they're going to get a garrison now here. That's strength 1. And we have a random event. Oh, I haven't been rolling for the Wesgorics events. Okay. An Ionic Storm enters. ionic storms can spread, and I'm not sure, it doesn't sound good news. The ionic storm. An ionic storm marker is placed on the ionic storm entry hex. Where is that? Four. I roll a 4, which apparently tells me where it enters. Okay, there's 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the ionic storm enters here. And then it will move 6 hexes in this direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that's by random distance and direction. No fleet can enter an area affected by an ionic storm, its hex and all adjacent. And fleets in its area of effect cannot be moved. So Sir Roger's lucky there. So that can create some random disturbance in your plans. Okay, so we go back to the first phase. Okay. Okay. Now the Crusader conversion phase, there's nobody we can convert at the moment. FIFA Silent, no, so back to movement. So Roger will stay there. Where he is, because he's going to go for an alliance. So Owain is going to boldly forge ahead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he will land there and his army will attack that army there. And now Brother Parvis with his fleet C can pick up Sir Fitzwilliam. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they will fly all together over to there. Crusader combat phase. So now we'll conduct the combat. Now these fellows, there's a handy fort there. So Army A is at strength 14, including the fort. And Sir Owain's got strength of 10 plus 2 shifts, so we're on 0 plus 2 because of his combat rating, and then plus 1 for the equipment points. So we're on the best column, and I roll a 3, which gives us a combat result of D. So for ground combat, the leaders of each side hold a parley. Through bravado and guile, you manage to arrange a truce. No combat occurs. Oh, I wanted to destroy them. Never mind. So they were a strong force. It is true. Okay. That's the only possible combat. It's a Crusader Alliance phase. So now Sir Roger can attempt to ally with the Jers. They're a 6. He has his +3 political rating, so I believe I roll the die and try to get higher than that 6. There's no enemy leader, so he's not going to disrupt that. Yes, I rolled a 6, so they are now our allies. The Crusader can immediately place Crusader ally pieces on the home planet. Okay. Each turn the alliance is in effect, the Crusader player can enter 1 die roll's worth of reinforcements. What we do is I believe I take this chip from here, and it's 7. That's the strength of my allies' markers. And so we've got Fleet A and Army A. I'm just going to give it all the strength in the fleet, so they're going to be for fleet combat. Okay, and there's even a leader. So they will be in that. Okay, so that's the Crusader Alliance phase. And now the Wizgrits player checks his IQ, finds his alert markers. He's got an alert marker. So he's almost alerted all planets in the green defense zone. He goes for movement, so he's moving fellow there. And he's now going to send this Wizgrits leader back with a fleet to combat Sir Owain, who he has a chance against. So the combat there is going to be one column shift to the debit for the Wizgrits because of their difference in equipment and IQ points. Rolling a 6 on 2 dice, I get D2, which means the defender loses 2 strength points. So Sir Owain's fleet B goes down to 8 strength points. So a bonus for the Wizgrits player. And I believe there's an interesting thing you can do is a player who suffered losses can try to use a leader to prevent those losses. He rolls a die, and if it's equal to or less than twice the number of the strength points, the leader is wounded. If it's over, so I could try to regain 1 strength point. No, I don't think it's worth it at this point. Each time a player causes enemy forces to take losses without suffering any losses, he earns 1 IQ point or 1 equipment point. So that win would give the Wizgrits player an extra IQ point, so now they've got parity there. And that is important. It's a big shift. It's a 1 column shift on the... each point is a column shift on the combat table, which makes a big difference. Okay, so that is the Wizgrits combat phase. They can try to disrupt an ally, but they will they would have to get. I used the wrong units there. They would have to get a leader on one of the Jer home planets to do so. And that is the end of the 4th game turn. So you can see the Crusaders are going to have to move very quickly if they can complete their objectives in 15 game turns. What they might just do is head straight for the Wizgrits home planet. But you know, the Wizgrits are stronger, so that the Crusaders are going to need, they've got 1 ally. What they could do is go over here, gain an ally there, and then attack. I think that's going to be their plan. Because otherwise they have to gain 4 of the other 6 capitals, or by converting 9 Thrall races. They converted 1 in 4 game turns. So they will get a chance for the one here next game turn. I think they will go head towards. They will get another ally, converting races as they go to see if they can gain that, but their main goal is going to be planet Wesgorex here. We'll see how that goes. Just a quick note, I've made one mistake. When they gain the ally, you actually roll 1d6 for the strength, and that was only 2, but you get 1d6 reinforcements for the ally each turn, and you pick the random strength markers here, which are 1 to 8. When you turn the Thrall race marker over and you convert them, normally you gain it into the fiefdom of whichever leader, so it would join his army. But if it has an asterisk, you actually draw one of those strength point markers, and you can gain a Thrall army or fleet, so you can actually gain extra fleets, because the Crusaders, they've only got 2 spare ones now, 2 spare armies or fleets, because these are double-sided. It's armies on one side and fleets on the others. So if they're wanting to spread out, they're going to need more fleets, and that will be a useful way to do it. But we have no way of knowing which Thrall races are going to be able to provide those until we get there. So just a quick update here on the 10th turn, well, the end of the 10th turn out of 15 of the basic game that I'm playing. I might extend it up to 30 because in 10 turns the Crusading forces have only gained 3 extra fiefdoms compared to their original first, and they need 9 to win the game. That's one of the ways of winning the game. So I don't think they're going to get 6 more in the next 5 turns. But what they have gained is they gained the Jers as alliance, and that has been successful in that the Jers have been very extremely lucky on their reinforcement rolls. So 3 whole fleets have entered. 2 fleets were sent against the fleet in this originally unalerted orange defence zone, and that was so threatened, and the leader is actually at Wesgorex leader with 3 political points, so which is effective at disrupting lances, that he has ended up fleeing his system, finally managed to alert all the planets in it, and he's fleeing his system to go up over here, which is where the Ethelbert of the Pethingung new alliance has joined Sir Roger, who hopped, skipped and jumped all the way up to here in the last 2 or 3 turns, and then and that's now released Sir Roger up because Ethelbert has won on political rating. He can go over here and try to convert the Ashenk, the last potential ally, but then obviously he's going to go up and try to disrupt that. So there's 1 planet alerted in the Wesgorex defence zone. They've been building up really strong forces around their capital. Taking that is the main objective. That's one of the other objectives, but it's the one I'm intending in this game for Sir Roger to try, although he might be thinking twice now he's looking at that. His only other chance is to get, I think it's 6 capital cities, and he's got 1 here. So that's now got the Jer fleet in it, and he's, though he doesn't have a political bonus, he is able to attempt, I think he can attempt conversion. Maybe I'm wrong there. So he was going to attempt conversion of that warlike band. Otherwise we've had some slowing down here. Apart from Sir Roger, the Crusaders have not got far, so there's lots of battles going on here. Then we had this Ionic Storm last turn, which we would have moved them out. Brother Parvus moved up, and they spent a turn building a castle, which helped to convert the Thrall race there. Another Thrall race was converted there. But everything's slowed down there, and the intention then is really to move as many forces as possible over there for the final conflict. We're looking at, so that they're good on equipment points. They're getting a +3 against the +1 bonus that the Thralls have, but the Wesgorex have. But they're building up, the Crusaders are building up a strong, the reinforcements are building up here on their home base where their cathedral is, so that's not likely to be attacked anytime soon. but there's no ships. They've got an 8 movement ship and a 6 movement here, with Brother Parvis is on 6, so that's quite slow. And I think they're going to have to sort of hop, skip and jump around here for any defence, whilst Sir Owain moves over here. They can bring in no more fiefdoms for themselves, only Sir Roger can, because Sir Roger's a baron. He hasn't been, no one's a duke. Sir Roger can make dukes, and if Sir Roger can get all the way back to the cathedral, and Brother Parvis is there, who has been made new pope, then he can become king and gain more fiefdoms. But at this point, if we're going for this objective, it's not really necessary. So this is about to be alerted, which will release up another fleet and potentially an army there. But probably it would be wise for Sir Owain to make a feint towards here to pin those forces down, while Sir Roger and the alliance here, joining up with the alliance, the Jair alliance from down here, move on the homeworld and see what they can do there. So it's thrilling times, and a third of the game left to go. Okay, we've reached the end of the 15th turn here, the end of the game, and it resulted in a Wurstgorix win. You can see there's quite a lot of the Crusader forces and their allies all around the Wurstgorix home planet here. All these forces are actually on this hex here. There's an army which has been fighting, and fleets had moved in. So they managed to destroy the Wurstgorix fleets around that area. But the Wurstgorix had so many armies on the planet, and despite an assault on right on the home capital city underneath there, they were not able to knock them off. Essentially the problem for the Crusaders is they did not get enough infantry, enough army troops over here. So they they had the fleets, but they didn't have the armies, which is unfortunate. They got now a large army stuck back there. And they had some more forces they could have picked up here in turn. Wurstgorix had came hot on their heels, and it was a close run thing. I think, and I remember the last 2 or 3 times, 2 times I played it. I think I only played it twice before. It was difficult for the Crusader players. So I think they need to kind of spread out quicker than I did and collect thrall races quicker, either to win with that victory condition or to pick up forces. Now, one thing they could have done is they could have won by taking 4 capitals, and they had 1 capital here, apart from their start one. They could potentially have taken 1, 2, 3 there, but again, it's not. It's not a done deal. It's not easy. It's not easy because for the Wurstgorix player, his combat results are losses either to the attacker or to the defender, and it's a kind of a gradation. So see, at the highest level you've got attacker loses 1, 3, 1, or defender loses 5. So you know sort of what's your chances are and what damage you're going to do. But because the Crusaders' combat results are very random and they depend on all this flavour text, you cannot be certain what you're going to do. So the final combat they had there, it could have, I can't remember exactly what it was now. But for example, there's ones like this. Your knights, bored by inaction, decide they can deal with these paynim. They recklessly charge the enemy. 50% chance they're successful. If they are successful, the enemy loses a die roll of strength points. That's 1d6. Unsuccessful, you lose it. So they can be very swingy. You get things going either way like that. The same with the street combat. Here, you make a gamble and try a tactic you heard was used by guys ramming. Each player rolls 1 die, so you could both lose the same, or you might lose less. You might lose more than the opponent, even though you got a result on a high combat odds table. So you really need to keep trying as the Crusader, and the Wurzgeritz just kind of need to a sort of slow, sedate defence. I think it would be quite boring for the Wurzgeritz player, because there were many turns where the Wurzgeritz player couldn't do anything because he had unalerted zones. The alerted zones he had been knocked out of, and in the unalerted zones he was just trying to alert them. So he had few forces to move, a few options to take. It depends. I suppose it would depend how the Crusader player played. So anyway, it's great. It's nice to see this game again, and I love it because of the theme. Even though I don't feel I need to read the book, I don't really like reading fiction books, but to play the game of this theme, it's wonderful. Even though when I first got it, I remember being disappointed because, judging by the cover, I thought, excellent, it's knights on horseback attacking alien lizard men, and I was hoping for some kind of tactical combat game, and of course you get this grand strategic thing. So initially I was very disappointed, but when I actually got into the gameplay, it is so immersive, and you've got options to use nukes and all these random events that happen, ambassadors, crusading fervours, treacheries, heresies, the Holy Grail and so forth. Then all the combat results that give you a picture. You order your men to make a show of brazen courage and strength. So it gives you a picture as you play along, and a very colourful map and counters too, as you can see. So that is it. That concludes my coverage of the High Crusade. Any questions, just write them below, and any comments or suggestions, please include. Ta-ra for now.